Welcome to Dear Business Coach, the podcast. My name's Elizabeth, coming to you from the Walker Consulting Works studio. Find one thing to move your business forward today. With conversations, spotlights, interviews, articles, and free resources. Listen, follow, and subscribe on social media, Dear Business Coach pages and groups. Dear Business Coach podcast. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. And don't forget Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, and anywhere you listen to podcasts. All it takes sometimes is one little thing to move your business forward today. Quinn Conyers, compelling keynote speaker, a corporate event MC, host MC, luxury language leader. You say 175 MC and speaker recommendations, LinkedIn top public speaking voice, 2 times author. Your about section on LinkedIn is a lot of fun to read as well. So just the first sentence or so here too. Most sales professionals, business owners, and corporate leaders are requested and required to speak in order to successfully sell themselves and their services. However, they struggle to communicate confidently when it really counts, and it's costing them their reputation, revenue, and relevant relationships. And then I come over to quinnconyers.com on your about section, and this is a really fun paragraph here. Quinn Conyers, a renowned women in leadership, keynote speaker, professional event MC, and corporate communications trainer, has over 19 years of experience in her industry. Quinn is the founder and CEO of Speak to Society. Speak to Society is a corporate and business communications training and development company specializing in verbal, nonverbal, and written communication skills for senior level leaders, mid-level managers, and business executives requested or required to be effective and efficient both internally and externally in their positions. So you are going to teach me a few things today, and we will get to dive into what is luxury language. So let's start there. But Quinn Conyers, what is your business? What do you do?
So I broadcast the brilliance of business owners and leaders, and I show them how to use luxury language to level up in their career and their business, but more importantly, teaching them how to use their voice as their competitive advantage so they can convert conversations into clients, contracts, and more opportunities for their businesses.
So when I got involved into your masterclass and your coaching, I was a little bit nervous that I didn't even really know how to ask you to help me. Right. And you said, come on, it's okay.
Yeah.
Also, one of my insecurities, I guess, or my questions was, you do speak to Black women.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the books that I have here is Speak Black Woman. Is this in my frame here? I'm looking at your website right now. And so, I'm not Black. But thank you for speaking with me about how we all can benefit from this language, because your training is not just for Black women, is it?
It is not. And it's interesting that you point that out, but I start with where I am, and I am coming from a lens. I'm coming from an ideology. I'm coming from a cultural background that happened to be African American, where a lot of times growing up, historically wise, our voices were muted and muzzled. And now we are living in a day and a time where we are requested, required, asked to speak. And I found that through my teachings and trainings and coaching and speaking engagements that more than any other ethnic race, that Black women were a little bit more muted and muzzled. So I took that upon myself to create something that was intentional for them, because of the simple fact that they haven't been encouraged to use their voice. They haven't been encouraged to speak their minds. And that was it. But then as I began to go deeper, I realized it wasn't just Black women. It was white women. It was Latina women. It was a lot of women in general who shared some of the common things about being seen but not heard. Don't speak unless spoken to. So that book, which was my second book, was really a personal love letter to the voice of a Black woman and just the amount of discrimination and isolation that that particular demographic has faced. But I am grateful that I realize that it's not a shared experience by just a group or culture of women, that a lot of women who are what I say awesome and amazing struggle putting their greatness into words. So my brand has expanded. And not only do I serve Black women, I serve women who have heartbeats, and making sure that they understand there is so much value and richness in their voice. And I believe that part of my assignment is to birth that voice, to activate that voice, and really dispel the idea that they have to find their voice, because their voice isn't lost. They know exactly where it is, but they might not be comfortable or confident using it. And that's where I come into play. So all I was saying is I wrote Speak Black Woman as my personal love letter to elevate, enhance, and illuminate the voices of Black women, because I saw that they were a little bit more muted and muzzled. But as I began to really kind of go out on my speaking journey, I realized that it's not just Black women who struggle with being confident communicators, it's women with a heartbeat. A lot of women are not as comfortable and confident speaking up and using their voice in their business, in their life, in their career. And that's when I began to really just focus in on people overall who want to show up as powerful presenters. So, yes, I serve Black women, but I also serve women who have heartbeats, who want to be confident and compelling when communicating in conversations and in front of crowds.
Who want to show up. That's one of the things that I am practicing, is this phrasing that you're really great at, is someone who something. Women who
Yes.
have a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Um, People who want to show up. I want to make sure to highlight and celebrate that you are speaking specifically in in your mission, I guess, to Black women, because when I started following you and listening to your content, you start your conversations speaking to everyone and talking about luxury language. And then we get to a section or part of your content where you specifically say, you're not the help.
Hmm.
You're the help. So it means something different to different folks.
It
But I
does.
spent a lot of time thinking about that for what it meant to me, because your teaching does resonate for me. And so when I was approaching you in your master class and thinking about talking to you today, how can I ask you about that language in a way that I can explain to you what that really meant to me when I started thinking about that, because I was listening to you talk about it. And I do personally feel, and this might be a little bit risky of a thing to say, but my personal experience, for whatever reason, I did realize as an adult not too long ago that in a lot of my upbringing, I looked to the men in this room or in a social situation as the person that is the gatekeeper, the person that you have to get attention from, the person that I need to learn how to get attention from in order for decisions to be made, in order for me to be included in a decision making process. So so that word, the help, right? The help is, I have often, as a young woman, found myself in profession, in situations like in an internship, or as a young person in a working situation. I'm going to figure out how to be the help to that guy in order to get attention, so that my opinions are heard when I want to ask for some kind of involvement in the workplace. And I'm and so whoo, I'm going to stop talking now and let you maybe help me out with my thoughts here.
Yeah, so help is a very interesting word in my book. And I believe for women, not just Black women, not just white women, but women, period, we have a very interesting relationship with that word help, that goes beyond culture and race. So I want to say that. I think that historically, that for Black women, their role has been to help. That has what they've been groomed to do. But as time has gone on, we have worn the word "I want to help you" or "can I help you" as a badge of honor. And I think part of it is gender roles. I believe that part of it is how women were raised. We didn't have certain rights. We couldn't open up certain bank accounts unless we had a signature from a man. So I think that we have embraced that word as a badge of honor. But when we really depict it and dissect it, we realize us helping is really us muzzling and deflating our greatness.
Okay. Hi, my name's Elizabeth Walker, host and producer of the Dear Business Coach podcast and Walker Consulting Workshops. Join me live on October 18th for the Power of Laughter Masterclass with Clayton Fletcher. Now, I'm bringing this ad to you today on purpose because you will see an e-blast from the Jefferson Center for the Power of Laughter Masterclass with Clayton Fletcher. That's October 18th in the Fosdeck Hall. It is a full day seminar and I'm hosting. If you would like a personal invite, please DM me on LinkedIn. You can also email me at dearbusinesscoachpodcast@gmail.com. So today I am coming to you from my home studio in Floyd, Virginia, telling you remember to sign up for the Jefferson Center's email subscription list if you haven't already, and you will receive a reminder in your inbox, a dedicated email about the power of laughter. And it says Elizabeth Walker presents the Power of Laughter Masterclass with Clayton Fletcher. Learn from an international professional stand-up comedian what all business people should know. What do comedians do on stage every night? How do we read the room? How do we learn what our audience is connecting with us around? And how can you learn how to do that in your everyday conversations, build rapport with your customers and employees? So this is an event that is targeted for executives and team leaders who speak. If you are in the Roanoke Valley or surrounding area, October 18th starts at 11 a.m. You can reserve your seats right now at the Jefferson Center box office. Pick up your copy of The ROI of LOL. That's the book that Clayton's workshop is centered around. So the co-author is Steve Cody. You can find both Clayton Fletcher and Steve Cody on LinkedIn. So my name's Elizabeth Walker, host and producer of the Dear Business Coach podcast and Walker Consulting Workshops. Please join me on October 18th and contact me now. I can help you reserve your seat or at the box office at the Jefferson Center in Roanoke, Virginia.
Greatness in our unique position, because we're always potentially positioning ourselves as a little bit inferior and making another person, another race, another gender inferior or superior. So help, in my opinion, is very gender based. Most men are not talking about how they can be helpful. They want to be assertive. They want to get the job done. So I don't think it is anything wrong with the word per se, but it's how we internalize and how we live out the word. And I think that part of my job and part of my assignment is to give a fresh perspective on the word and ask ourselves, are we really helping from a place of inferiority, or are we just taking a back seat where we should be in the driver's seat? So it's just a way for me to question people's thought process and mindset on the work that they do, because most of the times we are positioning and packaging ourselves and what we do as helping, but what we really are is what I say, magnificent. But if we're using weak words like help, we're positioning ourselves as mediocre. And I believe that once you begin to be very intentional and deliberate about the words that you use, not only will an internal confidence be birthed, but you will be perceived by coaches, clients, prospects in a different way, because what we're doing is not helping. I believe there's a stronger word to convey who we are and what we do.
Yes. Okay, so thank you for keeping me on track. And so when we go to Quinn Conyers masterclass or coaching, that is what we're doing, is getting into your world. So what is luxury language? Can I get a taste here for my listeners of what are some new habits? What's some new luxury language I can start using right away? And how do I start building that new habit?
So, luxury language, in my opinion, is just a way for you to be a conscious communicator. I believe that many people go around in life and their language, their communication skills, and their voice is on autopilot. Something as simple as, Elizabeth, how you doing today? Oh, I'm good. I'm great. Whereas if you say, Quinn, how you doing today? I'm awesome and amazing. It is really about you being intentional about the words that you use, the words that you think, the words that you feel. So, luxury language is a way that you can be very intentional about instantly elevating and enhancing who you are and what you do by choosing certain words that have more of a powerful impact on the person that you're talking to as well as yourself. So, if you just say, "Oh, I'm great, I'm good," then that's one thing. But if you show up and you feel grand, then that's a different space. So I try to operate in a way that good and great is okay, but I know that I'm grand. So I'm going to use words to convey that. So again, luxury language is just really words that you are using that really amplify and elevate who you are and what you do in a very conscious communication manner. And many of us are just walking through life saying and speaking. We are communicating, we are using our voice, but we're not leaning into language. And once you lean into language, I believe your life, your career, your business can receive a rapid upgrade.
Right. And when I came into your first master class and then into your coaching, also just a little tease for the audience, you teach about psychographics. Did I get that
Yes.
word correct?
Yep. Uh-huh.
And,
Psychographics.
whoo, and I thought, okay, I have just at the time that I was in your coaching session, I had just been spending quite a bit of time thinking about who is your ideal audience. How do you design the frame? How do you design the language to identify who are you trying to talk to? And it's not a lot of fun because I'm thinking, what I'm familiar with is like, business class textbook demographics. Well, men and women between the ages
Mm-hmm.
of this and that who might work in this field and might make over X amount of dollars. And there's a good reason why that just isn't fun to think about, I guess, right? So what can we do that's different to think about who our ideal audience is?
Yeah, I think demographics, you hit it on the head. It's very textbook business entrepreneurship kind of language. But I have found that when I let go of what made sense, logically, and I focus on who am I serving at the heart, who am I connecting with, and it wasn't necessarily a culture, a race, or a gender. It was more or less the mindset that I was connecting with. So it was people who know they had an awesome and amazing business, but they had a tough time putting that into words, and that doesn't have an age. I loved working with people who are not necessarily deathly afraid of public speaking, but when they got on the stage, they wanted to be able to command the crowd. They wanted to be a powerful presenter. So it wasn't the demographic of they are afraid of public speaking. It was more or less like their personality. It was tapping into their mindset. It was tapping into not just the problem that business teaches us, find a problem and solve it. I was focused on what is the potential, what is the paradise, where do they want to be, right? Versus the problem that they're having. And that's when I seen my business through a 360. I'm not trying to focus on who are the people who have a problem with public speaking. That is not my client. My client is, I know I have to go on this stage. And when I get on this stage, I want to be able to communicate who I am and what I do confidently. So I am tapping into their mindset. So when it comes to psychographics, you're tapping into the psychology of your client, not just what they look like on paper. I am not looking at the check boxes. I'm looking at the heart. I'm looking at the mind. I'm looking at what is their desired result. What do they want to do after they meet a client? How do they want to feel after speaking in front of a crowd? So once I began to focus my energy and my efforts on how I can super serve that individual from a deeper place, not just how much money they make, what kind of house they live in, or their age. That's limiting, right? Because we're so much more than the numbers and, or the color of our skin. I got more in touch with how can I activate Elizabeth's voice? How can I show her what she's doing with this podcast is not just giving tips and tools and techniques, but how this can be really a great feeder for people to get some tips they can implement in their business right away by listening to this podcast, by giving Elizabeth 30 minutes of their time, right? So my brain just goes deeper. And then when I realized that, that's when I not only connected with people more, I also was able to pull out the genius in with them that kind of went beyond the basics of I want to talk to people between the ages of 35 and 55, which is so broad.
Yes, and that doesn't really help us get to that feeling connection we're looking for, right? So absolutely. Okay, so let me keep myself on track here. And with that, I want to remind folks that we can find you on LinkedIn, and quinnconyers.com is your website. And I can tell folks we can connect with you there as well. But before I ask you to highlight exactly how you want folks to communicate with you and where we can find you for coaching, um, let's see, make sure I get look at my notes here. I always keep a notepad with me. This is how I do my interviews. um, so when when you when you say that you're looking to connect with folks, and what you really get down to the nitty gritty of is pulling the genius out of the folks you work with. When I came away from your workshop from your coaching, was the birth of Exposing Excellence with Roanoke Valley Leaders, which is a limited summer series here on the Dear Business Coach podcast for executives who speak and team leaders who speak in the Roanoke Valley in my local area. And so exposing excellence was the phrasing that came out of my workshop with you. And that is exactly what happened, right? Is you said to me, well, let's take a look at what you and your podcast does. And you specifically asked each of us in your workshop to share success stories. So you went in and pulled out real-time examples that you heard from my mouth, right? My personal experience, and with an experience of a guest that's on the podcast, and use that to brainstorm and to coach with me. So exposing excellence now, that phrasing and using that luxury language is doing what? Exposing the excellence of the Roanoke Valley leaders I'm hoping to elevate. And so it's just magical to me how you are able to wordsmith things. And I'm wondering, I think I've heard you speak about this a little bit. I ask for background story at the beginning of an interview, right?
Mhm.
But have you always been great at this, Quinn?
Other people had to confirm and affirm me. It was very natural to me to speak this way. And as I began to have conversations with people, they're like, oh my gosh, what did you just say? Huh? And I'm like, what did I just say? So, no, I don't think I was aware in the beginning. I think it's people like you and other people that I've had a chance to work with who have told me, like, you make love to words, or you're a wordsmith, or you just have a way with words. But no, in the beginning, it wasn't that I know, but it's almost like I love the transformation and the impact that the words have on other people. Think about it. If you say to someone, hey, I would like to interview you on my podcast, right? Like, yeah, people are like, okay, well, tell me a little bit more about it. That's one thing. But if you say, listen, I have a podcast and I would love to expose your excellence, would you be open to that? You see how that wording right there just is like, you want to expose my excellence? So it's beneficial not just to the person saying it, but there is a part of the brain that's activated that you feel excited, you feel eager. So once I began to understand like how my words was having a lasting impact on other people, I just leaned into it. Like it very was like, didn't even realize it. But every time I would talk about it, or somebody would come to me and be like, I don't know what it is. It's like nobody's buying my product or service. I'm like, well, tell me, what are you saying to them? And I'm like, don't say that, say this. They would go and say it. They would come back like, Quinn, I got 5 clients. I'm like, what? So it's just, I think, part of like my unique zone of genius where I can craft things and communicate things and structure things in a way that turn people on, that get them to take action with you. Like it's just something unique. And I'm still to this day trying to figure out all the ways that I can package it. I mean, one way is obviously how we work together and creating your verbal business card, but I am looking at diving in and really pulling some people in for like maybe a 2-day intensive or something like that, where we really kind of crack open a few things and teach you how to use luxury language to attract and close clients.
Well, that is exciting. And so I know I need to ask you now to tell me and our listeners how to find you and get involved with your coaching.
Yes. So LinkedIn, I'm Quinn Conyers on LinkedIn. Definitely reach out to me there. And if you are listening to this podcast and you shoot me a message and you say luxury, I'll send you my complimentary luxury language list. And it'll give
Oh,
you all the words that you shouldn't be using when promoting and positioning your business. And then I'll also give you a list of words, which is luxury language, that you should be using to position and market your business. So if you reach out to me on LinkedIn, you text me, or message me the word luxury, I'll complimentary. Notice I didn't say free. I said complimentary. I'll send you that list.
complimentary. Quinn Conyers, thank you so much for being on the Dear Business Coach. I didn't expect that complimentary gift. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it. Your time, it means a whole lot to me, and I hope to talk to you very soon.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me today. My name's Elizabeth, coming to you from the Walker Consulting Work Studio in Floyd, Virginia. This has been an episode of Dear Business Coach.